up, RotoGrinders? No, it is not Blender yelling in your ear. Blender is here. We'll be discussing the early afternoon slates, a couple different slates depending on where you're shopping. FanDuel, the reason why we're here a little bit earlier, they are including the earliest of the games, that is Toronto versus Baltimore. DK dropped that game, but FanDuel dropped the last two games. So FanDuel has a 4-game slate, but DK did include the last two, the 3 o'clock game and the 4 o'clock game. A 6-game slate in total. Myself and Blender, usually it's just the two of us yelling at each other. We decided to bring in, we got Will. I don't know if you're being punished or not, Chief. Good morning. Welcome. It's a 6-gamer. We're here for the next hour or so until we yield to crunch time. I believe it's Stevietpfl, as well as Kevin Roth, Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth, and Dave Potts. And shout out to Stevie. I was on the... Finally, Will. I mean, I'm not encroaching in your territory, but you're on the morning grind. You're a staple. But I was a guest last night, and it was, that's a tricky show to do because we don't have any lineups or weather or optimizers. So it's normally I like to stare at the lineups and kind of figure stuff out and run some sims and seeing zig and zag. But this is my long way of saying welcome, Will. Join myself and Blender yelling at each other on a Thursday afternoon or a Wednesday afternoon.
Thanks a lot. And Dean, I'm not sure how much you watch the RotoGrinders network throughout the day, but, Blender and I hang out almost every Wednesday at 11 or Thursday at 11. So this is perfect. I mean, we do this every week.
So I know Blender does the 11 o'clock show, assuming there's no early slates. Yeah, he would be on. I know he's got Mondays with McCool. That just works out with the alliteration. I believe Squirrel is. How about this? Squirrel is on Fridays, typically to talk about MMA. Tim comes on either Tuesday or Thursday, and I think Will, your day is Wednesday, which will be today. I guess that makes sense. That's why you're here. Yeah. Did I get that correct, Blender? Is that borderline stalkerish? Is it strange that?
No. Why wouldn't you be watching all the shows that are here at RotoGrinders? I mean, Tim told me yesterday. See, I'm not as good as you, because a lot of times I'm not necessarily tuning into GrindersLive, or I'm tuning into the last half an hour of GrindersLive into crunch time.
The exact time I log off is what you're saying, is when you log on.
Yeah, pretty much that's how it goes, right? But Tim told me yesterday.
Just a coincidence.
That when Tim told me when him and Bobby are on the show, that they call it the People Show because you're not a man of the people.
Oh, no, that's not it. No, hold on. It is the People's Show, but it's not because I'm not a man of the people. That's outrageous.
Well, that's how Tim put it. Tim put it that him and Bobby are a man of the people, and you're a company guy. And I said that's why you come on and we do these shows early at 11 o'clock sometimes, because, I always talk about how I use the great tools here at RotoGrinders, right? Like Lineup HQ and SimLabs. I mean, the fact that we're running a deal where you can get 6 months, with $250 off, or if you want your first month, $40 off, and you get all of the projections and the content, Cheese's $1 Million Musings. The fact that I talk about how I use our wonderful premium content, you get to be a man of the people on this show, and I'm the company.
Blender, what if I don't want to commit to 6 months, and what if I don't want to commit to a full month?
Why would you want to commit to 6 months? That's the first thing
I'm not good with commitment.
I yell
it's a long
at you.
story.
Why?
I don't want to get into it.
Dean, is that why you're alone? Your fear of commitment? Come on.
I feel like I should be lying down and having this conversation with you. But what if I only want to commit to, say, I don't know, 3 days? Is there something for me if I just want to commit for 3 days?
So you basically want to treat RotoGrinders like some bordello or something, right?
3 days we're talking. Blender, I'm being a company man. I'm trying to finish the promo. I'm trying to finish the read. I'm setting it up for you on a platter. The alley-oop is there, and you're just tanking it.
Yes, because you want to have a nice little weekend relationship. You're like, oh, I want to have a one-night stand, but maybe we hang out for the rest of the weekend type of thing. But you could do that for $19.99. So at least we're cheap when it comes to taking advantage of us and then just throwing us to the curb, right? You wake up in the morning and you find out, you look next to you on your bed and they're gone, right? That's Dean. That's Dean for you. Dean wants you to do that. Me, I'm like, I lead with the 6 months. It's like, dude, if I'm not in this for 6 months, dude, I'm not swiping on your photo. I'm sorry.
Well, you guys are both big in the commitment, both married men. 6 months are for y'all. But you probably know a guy. You guys are already juiced up. You get the access to RG Premium. By the way, should mention, since I am the company man, last night was the premiere of the WNBA. WNBA is now a thing that is included in premium projections. You get all the sports: football, baseball, basketball, hockey, golf, CS:GO, if you want to call that a sport. NASCAR is a la carte. Hold their conversation. Talk to Stevie about that. But the projections apparently did really well, because I know RG contributor, I saw Kyle Murray finished second in the big contest, down 7,500. So shout out to Kyle Murray. Jamino's done a really good job with those projections. I know you also can get, if for whatever reason you want WNBA a la carte just by itself, you don't want anything else. I think it was $30 a month. So that's, I mean, I went to UCF. But I'm pretty sure that's $1 a day, give or take, depending on the month. So if that's what you're into. All right. Again, just to reiterate, as far as the slates today, FanDuel is including the very first baseball game that's happening today, which is Baltimore and Toronto. They are not including the two later games. So, a little bit different as far as the slates. And I think, I think the contests are just better at DraftKings. That generally drives the conversation as well. If you guys have any FanDuel specific questions, by all means, feel free to ask. But our conversation is probably going to be driven by DK, I presume. You want to give me a screenshot as far as today's slate? What are we looking at? How do you see in the 6-gamer or the 4-gamer, depending on where you're shopping?
I'm personally not playing FanDuel because of said prize pool situation. So I'm mostly just playing DraftKings. In terms of DraftKings today, for me on the early slate, I think we've got some good pitchers with high upside, but I don't think they're quite elite yet. And what I mean by that is, we've got Crochet, we've got King, and we've got Gasser and these guys that I still consider all these guys fringe right now. Like I think one of these guys is probably going to be an ace, maybe. I think right now we would probably think Crochet is going to be that guy. But my larger overarching point is there aren't any aces on this particular slate. The projections are all over the place. Michael King looks the best. This is something that I think is interesting to note if I want to give an overarching thought about just the slate from a pitching perspective. Then I'll go bats. The bat is actually pretty high on Michael King today. That actually caught me off guard. The bat's actually very high on Michael King today. I think when I checked, the bat had Michael King projected for over 7 strikeouts. Like that's you have to understand. Like the bat doesn't just go around throwing out like 7 strikeouts to everybody. And so for Michael King to kind of have that projection today, and even like for FanDuel fantasy points, because I look at Prize Picks, so I typically will play some fantasy points over there. Like it's got it projected for about 39.36. I'm not trying to just hand out the bad stuff. You need to go over there if you want to use those. And our projections, I think RG projections, I think had them around 37ish. I can go back and check that. But either way, it does look like Michael King is the guy today, and the ownership is reflecting that. I like it. I think Michael King's going to be fine. We've been picking on Colorado all year, but I'm still a little bit cautious because I know Michael King isn't, Spencer Strider. And then outside of that, I do think we just have some really good hitting matchups, and I think there's probably 1, 2. There's at least 3 what I consider really good spots today for hitting, and I want to take advantage of that.
That's interesting because there's no team total above 5. So I'm curious to hear.
It.
Yeah, you actually you did our tier rankings. We'll be talking about tiers as far as stacks later on in the show. We'll be breaking putting certain teams in certain tiers, and I don't really love the offense on this slate. Certainly, there's some you can tell yourself a story and that kind of stuff. We'll talk.
It's really more about these offenses are facing really bad pitching. I'm just going to attack that, and I'm not concerned about the total. So let me make that clear, because you're right. There isn't anything over 5, but these pitchers, man, sign me up.
Yeah. By the way, if you weren't aware, if I'm talking to the audience, I'm sure you are. Well, but Kikuchi is now starting for Toronto. I think it was supposed to be the Hound, but he got bumped back. Bassett is not pitching today. It's Kikuchi versus Bradish, and again, that game only on FanDuel today. FanDuel not including Cincinnati, Arizona, not including Colorado, San Diego. And yes, we saw Dylan Cease was supposed to strike out 19 people last night as far as the Rockies, but sometimes it just doesn't work out. What is your screenshot here, Blender? How are we looking at it as far as the overview? Ownership wise, it's pretty clear the two most popular pitchers on DK are going to be the aforementioned Michael King taking on the Rockies. Crochet, his Ks have been spectacular, obviously, this season. He's been unlucky, too, if you're looking at the under-the-hood stuff. So he's got one of the higher ERAs in this slate, 4.63, but his Sierra is actually 2.38. Left on base percentage, just 65%. The strikeouts at 34%, which is awesome. Few too many fly balls with 4.8% as far as walks. He looks like the best upside play, but again, he's going to be owned. Is this something that we care about, Blender? We're going to get different as far as our bats. It's lineups, not players. Certainly you're aware of this. King, 50%, 32% for Crochet, that feels a little low for Crochet, but he is kind of somewhat pricey. And then Casey Mize is next. Just really a good matchup against the putrid Marlins, former number one pick. Not a great strikeout pitcher. 25%. Woo, 21%. We're giving him 85 pitches as a median projection, which to me seems a little more like the ceiling, kind of like the ceiling than the median spot. But hey, this isn't my job. I think he only threw 60-ish or so last time out. And they said there was an implication that there was like a forearm issue. I'm not sure if they were just being crazy cautious because that was his first game back in the majors this season. But yeah, your overview here, Blender, just give me the screenshot. Well, then we'll bleed into the pictures.
I think everything is shaky. Like if you're going to approach this slate as if you're sure about anything, you shouldn't be. And like every game is going to be higher variance. Like the thing that you have to learn about projections, for those that don't know, because I always harp on this every morning that I'm here. So if you're new here, that the numbers that you see on the screen are middle numbers, are the average, are the middle, right? So when you see someone, he's a projection of 18.61, it's like that's the 50th percentile outcome, right? That's we've put everything into the model. We've crunched all the numbers, put in the weather and everything, all the ballpark data, all the everything, and then ran out the games 100,000 times. And the distribution is going to look. There's going to be some times where Crochet goes out and strikes out 12 batters. There are going to be also games where he gives up 2 home runs in the first inning, and he doesn't even make it into the fourth, right? And he's just awful, negative points, right? They happen less frequently, just like the 12 strikeouts happens less frequently. So what you're seeing is the middle, but that doesn't include the standard deviation of the projection, meaning that how far away a lot of the outcomes are from that middle. So, think for instance, a home run hitter as a batter, right? I always use Joey Gallo, like the type of person where it's his projection is 8. It's like the guy never scores 8 points, right? He's either striking out or he's hitting a home run. The average may be 8, right? But a lot of times you'll see 0s, 2s, 3s, or 14s, 16s, 18s, and then that average. Luis Arias with an 8 projection is more likely getting 6s, 8s, 10s, 12 because he doesn't hit many home runs. So the standard deviation is going to be much lower. That being said, with this little math lesson, because I'm here in the morning, and that's kind of what I do in the morning, a little preview if you tune into the shows. All these pitchers have high standard. Don't go in, even Michael King projecting well in the bat. He's had some awesome starts. He's also been shelled. So, yeah, I know he's facing the Rockies, one of the better matchups. All these matchups are good, right? Michael King, Casey Mize, Crochet against the Nationals, right? Robert Gasser against the Pirates. This is only his second career start. So good luck project. He's a 16.02 projection. You know how high variance that's going to be? Who the hell knows, right? And then on the other side, for the offenses, some of the better projected offenses from a salary perspective are like the Tigers and the White Sox. So it's like, do you want to rely on that? That's going to be a high variance situation also. So like my attitude on this slate is that I wouldn't be playing the chalk, like in total together. Like I would, if you're going to play Michael King plus Crochet plus a White Sox 5-man stack, like the field shouldn't be as confident, even though like the median numbers would say that that's like the best projected lineup. It doesn't. This doesn't feel like a slate. This feels totally like a slate that I think that if you wanted to play a 3-man Rocky stack, or if you want to play a 5-man Miami stack against Mize, or you want to play a stack against Crochet, I think that's perfectly viable. It's going to project lower, but I'm not convinced Trevor Rogers is fixed. I'm not. Second start for Robert Gasser, like all these guys. Brian Wu may only pitch 4 innings. Why don't you play the Royals against the Mariners bullpen? I mean, like, it just feels like you could kind of do anything, and the field isn't. They're gonna just. It's gonna kind of be. This is not a slate where you should feel confident about any of your opinions, really.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's arguing that Trevor Rogers is fixed. He's got his face punched in several times in a row. Maybe Detroit will be the cure, but it's been a rough go for Rogers. We did get Milwaukee's lineup for what it's worth. Let me go ahead and pull that up. Or let me get the lineups as the show progresses. Contreras, Adames, Ortiz, Sanchez, Perkins, Monasterio, Miller, Chiriot, Frelick. So that means no Yelich. Looks a little bit goofy. I'm trying to see if there's anybody else, any of the other regulars. Rhys Hoskins went on the IL. So, this lineup is certainly weakened. The absence of Yelich, day game after a night game. He's got a history of back issues. It kind of makes sense. They're also facing the lefty there and Martin Perez. So not the best iteration of a Milwaukee lineup. You did mention the White Sox, by the way, and I just wanted to it's only like 200 or 250 at-bats or so for the White Sox. It is and we're not officially on like stacks just yet, but it's just wild how terrible their numbers are against lefties. I tweeted out before the show. I was kind of digging into it. I was looking at it last night, actually. Will, the White Sox have a 27 WRC plus. 27. 204 WOBA, a 77 ISO, 27.6% strikeouts, a 2.3% walk rate. I can't imagine anything so terrible. But that's what.
But
but
what I hear you saying is I should be playing Patrick Corbin. Is that what you're saying, Dean?
Have you heard Patrick Corbin's numbers?
Of course I have. This is just for dramatic effect, Dean. That's all this is for.
Corbin, he's been unlucky. You can give him that. He's got a 5.91 ERA, and his BABIP is 381, and it's like, okay, that's probably a little bit too high. But he also has this extremely ridiculous hard hit percentage. So, not all BABIPs are created equal, right? If he's getting hit hard, it's more likely the ball is going to land and play and become a single or double or triple. Of course, BABIP does not include homers because those balls technically are not in play. He's done a good job as far as keeping the ball on the ground. We'll give him that. His skill this year for Corbin, he's done a good job keeping the ball on the ground as opposed to yielding a ton of fly balls. The K's, of course, have not been there. 14.8%. But yeah, Will, something's got to give. I don't think it's the craziest idea. I'm not suggesting it. I don't play enough lineups probably where I'm going to do it. But I don't think it's completely bonkers to play Corbin. I'll just say that. That's my biggest. Put that in the back of the DVD as my endorsement of Patrick Corbin. Now, are you buying that DVD now? Probably not. Well, it's 2024. Nobody's buying. I don't think anybody's buying DVDs. Let me know the last DVD you bought there in chat, or if you guys can tell me you recall the last DVD you purchased. Don't know. Blu-rays, is this the whole thing? Not sure.
Do they still have like the discount to DVDs at like Walmart, like where they like kind of throw
the dollar bin?
Yeah, like when they just like it's just a mess of crap, and then you just go in. I remember
probably
20 plus years ago. You got sometimes you can find some gems, some dollar DVDs, and it's like, oh yeah, that movie.
What's the best gem you ever found? You never found a gem.
I don't know. In my head, I visualize that. I remember 20 years ago visualizing that there would be a gem and then always being disappointed when
you also grade on a curve when it's you grade a gem on a curve because it's a buck in the bin, and like life is about expectations, and your expectations are minimal. They're at the floor when you're looking at the bin in Walmart. But Will, do you have anything to add to this conversation if you want to give a thought as far as Patrick Corbin?
I mean, look, I will say this. I'm not playing Patrick Corbin for DFS because I think Patrick Corbin is awful. I am going to play him in the props space and take him over outs just in case the White Sox are really bad. But that's kind of my hedge against DFS, if you will, just not playing him at all. Think about that how you like. I think Blender, kind of knows, and I don't think the projection has him over completing 6 innings, but I do understand that the data on the White Sox is it's really bad. And not only that, if they were striking out but showing a lot of power, like I'd probably temper my expectations a little bit, but they're striking out, and then most of this lineup is showing zero power. So this is just me kind of taking a small shot on Patrick Corbin. Full disclosure, I don't really like the prop scene too much today for MLB. It's not great at all, but I've got a few sprinkles of things here and there, and so taking him over out is one of those sprinkles. So yeah, I've got that.
What was it again, Will? I'm sorry, I didn't hear. What was the number
Patrick
for
Corbin over out, just basically for him to complete 6 innings, 17 and a half outs. Basically, we're saying he gets through 6. And I mean, if for some reason the ball can stay in the yard and he can't run his PC up, look, and I know that's a stretch. I'm just saying, hey, if this team's not hitting for power, and he doesn't walk a bunch of guys, and BABIP's on his side, he probably goes 6. I've seen him give up 9 hits and go 6 innings this year. In fact, I feel like I've seen him give up 11 hits and go 6 innings. Just one of the greatest phenomenons in the world is Patrick Corbin getting absolutely shelled, giving up 3 runs on 11 hits, and going 6. He probably gave up 4 or 5, but they still let him go. So he could give up 4 runs and still get 6 innings today. So that's really all that is. But folks,
I think they like to punish him because they're paying him a bunch of money, and it's like a terrible contract, and he set the organization back, and it's like, yeah, we know you're getting your face punched in, but we're gonna keep you out there for an extra extra inning or two. Just you got to earn that money.
I'm not saying this is a great one. That tells you where this slate. I'm not thrilled about this slate from the props perspective. I got a few other things in, but like in general, I think if I had to play a cheap guy on the prop side, I know it's a little bit more expensive. It's probably Brandon Pfaadt, just because there are some strikeouts in this Cincinnati lineup. They also present a lot more power, but I do think Pfaadt's probably next, and then Alec Marsh, simply because he's facing Seattle. I do think his pitch count should be up a small tick since he's come back, and this is purely strikeout upside, Dean. This isn't me saying he's going to set the world on fire, but I can't just play Crochet and King and Gasser. I'm probably a little bit lower on Gasser than the field is, but I can't just play Crochet and King. I want to get a little bit more variety because this slate isn't great for pitching, as we talked about at the top. It's just there's some good spots, but like these pitchers aren't elite by any stretch of the imagination. I think there's still some room for most of these guys to grow, including Brian Wu. And it's a whole lot of newer pitchers outside of Perez and Gomber and Corbin, and who's been around a while.
Are you playing Wu? I don't think I am. I just don't think there's any upside.
Yeah. I'm not playing Brian Wu. I didn't play him the last start. I'm not playing him this start. I am going to play some Alec Marsh though.
Sell me on Marsh.
I just said it. It's just really a strikeout upside play.
Yeah.
He's not getting much ownership compared to these other guys. And quite frankly, I think Alec Marsh could score as much as Crochet today or Michael King. I'm saying if it breaks his way, I mean, look, he's going to need to be very efficient. So I acknowledge that. We saw Pavetta go out and have a very efficient outing, picked up 8 Ks. This is not me saying Alec Marsh gets 8 Ks. This is me saying if he's efficient, I think he could push the envelope for his fantasy points today. And with them getting this low ownership, Seattle's strikeouts are, pretty equal to the White Sox against lefties today. So no reason for me to not roll him out on this slate.
we don't have in a lineup, and also we probably going to make some decisions not knowing some lineups with a couple later games, especially in the DK slate. But the projected lineup for Seattle this season versus righties has struck out 28.2%. Everybody is in the red to some degree, with the exception of Josh Rojas, the projected leadoff hitter at 15.7%. A decent contact guy, good walk guy as well. But otherwise, everybody else is striking out a ton. Not that Marsh is great strikeout stuff, but you should see a bit of a boost on the season. 18.5% Ks, higher versus righties, 22.2%, 17% versus lefties. Blender, how much do we care as far as like lineups not being out just yet? Obviously, you're going to be attentive. You're going to be aware. You're going to see. You have the push notifications if you have players that are not in, not out. But does that factor into your decision making at all? With like several teams probably are not going to have their lineups out when the slate kicks off. Do we care about this?
I mean, I guess from a 50-50, like a tiebreaker perspective, the feel from an ownership, this is an ownership play more than anything else, that teams that don't have their lineups out by lock tend to be slightly lower owned than probably maybe they should be at the time, right? Because people don't like, I'm not going to play Padres lineups as much because I don't have the lineup, right? And because they don't want to late swap or stuff like that. So that, to me, that's the only definition. And I'm not even sure if Dean, are you frozen? And that's just on my end.
Can you see me? I can hear you just fine.
This is awesome. This is awesome.
We can hear you, but you've gone to the cryogenics, and you're
I have my backup laptop too, good to go if I needed to go, because I've been having some laptop issues the last couple of days, and I have a new one coming in the mail, which is not here just yet, unfortunately. And I tested it out before the show. Let me see if I can get you. So you can hear me just fine, correct?
Yeah, you hear you perfectly, but it's like you've made your show. It looks like we're talking to an avatar, or it's just someone that is very enthralled with their computer screen.
This is where I ask for $1 billion. This is where you can't. I'm going to disguise my voice as well. Let it go. Let it go. Carlos Soto said Frozen, so that's the Frozen song.
Yeah, but I mean, he's not frozen. His body's frozen, but his mind is working well, and we can hear his voice. You're a ventriloquist now. You're talking. Yeah. It doesn't matter. We don't have to see your mouth move.
Yeah, I was going to make a Ted Williams joke, but we'll move on because we referenced Ted Williams the other day, and if you know his backstory. All right. Other stuff as far as pitchers, Blender, the most ambitious thing you want to do as far as pitchers, again, like you said, keep your expectations low, but it's also like really quote unquote obvious, right? I'm doing air quotes and nobody can see me. Michael King is expected to get an immense ownership number, 51% specifically on DK, Crochet at 32. But like you said, it is fragile, but like as we work our way down, it gets more and more fragile. Abbott, Rogers, Gomber, Martin Perez. Perez might be like okay. He might be the guy that like doesn't win it for you, but doesn't lose it for you. And maybe that's just good enough. Like you don't have to like outrun the bear. You don't have to outrun the bear today. You just gotta like, be faster than everybody else running away from the bear. And if you put up your 16 DK points and that's the most, you survive the bear and you're well positioned to take something down at least you're not eliminated automatically. Did you have anything goofy?
But Dean, the thing is that on the slate is that I always prioritize strikeouts over anything else.
Yeah.
So like being contrarian doesn't mean crossing out Michael King and Crochet and saying I'm going to play Austin Gomber and Trevor Rogers. Like you don't have to do that. Like no. Just because these are high variance situations or much higher variance than the field is going to think it is, doesn't mean that the likelihood of all the chalk pitchers, the likelihood of King, Mize, Crochet, Fat, Gasser, like all getting blown up is like very small. One of them's probably going to do pretty well that you're going to probably want to have. So to me, it's not a matter of like, well, I'm not going to play Michael King or I'm not going to play Crochet. Just maybe I don't. If I play a lineup with both of those guys together, that's a weirder lineup. I'm stacking some other team that's low owned. But like someone like Alec Marsh, like I'd much rather, to me, if Casey Mize is going to be even higher owned than Alec Marsh, like technically Alec Marsh at 8K is a little overpriced.
Yeah.
But like he is the third highest strikeout prop on the board. I mean, I said this. I say this all the time with pitching. Same thing for Brian Wu, right? I want either pitchers that have long leashes or can be highly efficient in striking batters out. Because you can't expect a pitcher to give up like 0 earned runs. But like when a guy gives up, if Casey Mize gives up like 3 earned runs, it's hard for him to score very well because probably doesn't strike out more than 4 guys. So he ends up not really working out for you. While someone like Michael King or Crochet, Alec Marsh is the third guy. I mean, he may not go more than 5 innings, but at least he could go 5 innings and 1 run and 6 strikeouts and be fine for you. Like Martin Perez ain't going to do that. Right?
Yeah.
Like, Austin Gomber ain't going to do that. Right?
Correct.
I understand that they're low owned. Yeah, sure. It's like, okay, Martin Perez is low owned. Okay. Against the Brewers. But
yeah, they're going to have to pitch 9 innings.
Right. It's just the opportunity because it's like, I'm never going to get all the way down where I'd rather take a shot on Trevor Rogers, like actually like turning things around because like Trevor Rogers could be that old pitcher that he was. He's probably not. Like just the secret, he's probably not. But I'd rather take that hope than play guys that like to me. Brian Wu will like for DFS purposes. I feel like we've seen him been efficient in 5 innings.
Yeah,
but it's hard to take someone that only pitched 62 pitches last start. They're clearly keeping him on a restricted count. The Royals are an okay matchup. I mean, that's fine. But, I mean, I'm not going to play him at, like, if he's going to be 15, 20% owned because, I mean, he could easily just go out and maybe he comes out after the 4th inning no matter what his pitch count is. I mean, literally just whatever it is, even if he just, like, threw 5 strikeouts in 4 innings and they just take him out anyway. And it's, like, unless all these other pitchers get just completely blown up, I'm not sure that Brian Wu's 14 matters that much.
Yeah, his 5 innings of being fine might be okay though, like you said. If just now that's also assuming that Crochet doesn't put up as a occasional 10 strikeout game. That can happen as well. He's also got hit pretty hard several times too, and we talked about how he's been unlucky. Yeah, man, it is a weird slate. Looks like 8 righties facing Martin Perez for what it's worth. By the way, it looks like the crunch time's be coming in around 12:15, boys. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to stretch. I see Blender literally stretching. You probably don't see me because I don't know what my camera literally says it's on. Like the blue light is on, and you're just seeing. I don't know what's going on over here. My apologies, but if you can hear me just fine.
Dean, unplug your camera, plug it back in, and it should work fine.
Should I restart the router while I'm at it, or
no? Just unplug the camera.
Unplug your USB camera and plug it back in. That should fix it.
Yeah. Producer Steve is saying no. He's saying that's bad. I don't know if he's answered a different question. He's just saying no.
Does your camera hate you so much? Are you that unattractive?
Well, I don't know.
Like the camera's he said he was answering no to the router.
He couldn't tell I was joke. I was making a joke. That's like the go-to joke. Like that. That's what the ref. I wasn't really going to restart my router. Like, come on, this isn't my first. My first show.
Dean, I mean, you went to UCF, so I wasn't sure.
Okay? That is fair. That is a fair rebut. All right, yeah. So we got about 40 minutes or so. We got chief mineralogist Kevin Roth. We got Stevie coming in, as well as Dave Potts. Again, a little bit early start time as far as FanDuel, but we're not going to necessarily let them dictate how things go. The conversation's mostly DK oriented. If you have anything specific for FanDuel, by all means, drop it in the chat. Whatever's on your mind in chat, by all means, drop it in the chat. Join the conversation. While you're joining the conversation, hit that like button. Do subscribe. Do turn on those notifications. Do all those things that helps us keep the lights on here. Will, how many lineups are you making today? Are you MMing or just like one main lineup?
Yeah, but I'm not going to have more than 20 for the early slate. Yeah, no more than 20.
So how many pitchers do you have in your pool? Are you not sure
Let's
yet?
see. No, I can tell you right now. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Okay, so Crochet, King, Gasser, Marsh. Those are all correct, right?
Yep.
Who are the other two? Maybe
Brandon,
Fault. You might have some. You might have some Fault.
Brandon Fott. Yeah.
Who's the fifth guy? Is it Casey Mize?
Yeah, I've got a little bit of Casey Mize.
I don't understand Casey Mize. Can you explain to me? Maybe this is like his history of injuries. He was out of Auburn. I believe he was the number 1 pick out of Auburn. And like, you have to have a ridiculous arsenal. You have to have a ridiculous arm to be the number 1 pick in all of baseball. And maybe it's just the injuries took a toll. But how is it that he can't strike people out and he supposedly has this incredible arm? I just don't understand. I'm asking you a question. I'm not sure if you can answer or not. I don't get it.
Yeah, it's very weird for me. And once again, I don't think Mize is going to have like this exceptional outing. I'm just playing him just in case. Like Mize is kind of like my 15 points guy today. Like just in case he gets to 15. Like I just want to have a little bit of exposure. I mean, we've got it projected for around 15. I'm going to be slightly under the field, but like not much, not much.
16% strikeout rate on the season, the second lowest number on the board, just below or just above the aforementioned Patrick Corbin, who's at 14.8%, which is pretty embarrassing. Blender, you make what, 3, 4, 5 lineups? How many lineups are you making today?
Today, I'm only making 1.
Do we know who our pitchers are, or it's all sort of dependent
not
upon?
Necessarily, not yet.
Yeah,
I got a doctor's appointment after the show, so that's why it's like okay.
Oh yeah.
That's it. Most likely, our Sims would say that you're playing Michael King. If you go to SimLabs,
it's good chalk.
I guess so. I mean, anytime I try to make 150 lineups, it gives me like all of it. I mean, literally, like my last run was like 98% Michael King, right? So,
that's a lot. So we're forcing him in there, like pretty much in everything.
Yeah, no, he's appearing in like almost every line. I mean, it makes sense. It's very similar to. It's not as dramatic as yesterday with Cease, just like he's. Like, even in the bat, like, he projects for 4.5 points higher median-wise than any other pitcher on the slate, and he's cheaper than Crochet. So, like, that's kind of why that happens. I'm probably playing King. It's just that who am I going to play in this? The second spot, it gets rotated around, and our Sims, you know, I'm getting King. I'm getting Crochet. I'm getting a lot of my King Crochet lineups.
Yeah.
After that, a lot of these runs, the next pitcher, I mean, it's a big drop off. So like the difference between this pitcher and the other pitchers in this range are not that dramatic. But it's going to be like a lot of Michael King, Patrick Corbin lineups. And if people are going to play the Tigers today, right? He's facing that's who we're talking about, right?
The chat's talking about Javi.
No, if people are going to be,
I don't know if you saw that.
The White Sox are going to be chalk today. It seems like our Sims actually prefers to give you more lineups. Yeah, way more lineups with Patrick Corbin than with the White Sox.
Did you hear my rundown on how terrible they've been against lefties? I know the sample isn't huge, but it's like historically awful. They are so horrendous.
Historically awful is literally that. If you go to Patrick Corbin's like birth certificate, like that is like his middle name, like historically awful.
Patrick, historically awful Corbin.
Awful Corbin.
What a weird name to give your child. You're setting him up for failure.
They knew. So
I've never named a person before, but I probably wouldn't go with that person. That wouldn't be on my top of the board.
Like how bad is he now? That like at least in the past. It seemed like Patrick Corbin could go out there and strike out 10 guys.
Well, that's how he got the contract. Yeah. He was once good, like 6 years ago. But, Yeah,
but he is the perfect 6 years. He is the mix of, like, typically when your strikeouts go down, it's because you've lost something, but you've gained control, so you don't walk as many guys. Patrick Corbin walks the same amount of guys that he always walks, and now he doesn't even throw strikeouts anymore. So it's like the worst of both worlds. But then you look at the White Sox lineup and you go, you look at the bottom of it, you go, like, you've been telling me he can't pitch. Like, he's not going to be able to. Corey Lee's going to get him. Zach Remillard's going to get him. I mean, like, what? Like Paul DeJong, the corpse of Paul DeJong is batting cleanup for the White Sox. You look at this, and I know I'll say what like Will said. Like, you're not crazy for playing Patrick Corbin against the White Sox, and the Sims don't have feelings. The Sims don't have emotions and biases. Our SimLabs is, I mean, it's giving me more Corbin lineups than his ownership. So it's not like it's throwing Corbin in your face, but if you went there, you'd be like, oh, King Corbin? Yeah, that's what
I said earlier. I don't think it's completely bonkers. It's not complete. I don't want to be the guy that endorses Patrick Corbin in any. That's not what I want to be.
But Dean, hold on. Yesterday, on yesterday's slate, Tim was yelling at me because I was trying to say that Joe Ross at 5,200 was a completely valid play yesterday. Yeah. And he was like, I don't know if I can click on that name. And Joe Ross, I mean, yeah, he gave up 3 runs, but he had like 6 strikeouts. He scored double-digit points for 5,200, and that's all you should expect for $5,200 pitcher. Patrick Corbin, 6,200. So if he goes out and gives me like 13 points, I mean, that for 6,200,
I'll take 13 points. You give me 13 points,
right?
He's in.
Right. We're not looking for.
But it might be negative 13. You never know.
22 points. Like, no. Right.
I like how we play this song and dance, and we're all sort of guilty of it. It's like, oh yeah, simulations. There's always outcomes. This is a median projection, and the next day you're like, well, look what happened yesterday. It worked. So clearly, I was right about Joe Ross based on the one version of the million simulations.
Yeah, but he pitched the median outcome. Like the thing is that it's not like, oh, the projections were high and then he went out and had 40 points. It's like, no one. I never said that he was going to go out and be like the top raw point pitcher on the slate. Just saying that the average outcome for him is much higher than most people expected. So like when that average kind of outcome happens, it's like, look, like these types of outcomes, that's the whole point of projections. They just happen more often than you expect them to happen. And our Sims would say that Patrick Corbin puts up enough points more of the time than you think. And the field is going to go, I want to play 20% on White Sox against Patrick Corbin.
Well, they're gross too. They're both gross, right? So, yeah, it's an interesting conversation. If the White Sox are going to be anywhere near chalky, like you're suggesting, I do not want chalk White Sox, especially versus lefties. I don't care who's throwing the ball. I don't want it. Don't want it. Will, give me the your synopsis and anything else you want to add as far as pitchers, and then introduce your tiers. We're going to be ranking our favorite stacks in just a second. And myself and Blender, we're going in cold. We don't know what you did. Of course, you let producer Steve know, but set it up for us.
Yeah, so I'm fine with King Crochet. I do think my favorite tournament pitcher is Alec Marshall on DraftKings at 8K. But that's purely a strikeout play. And then, I've got Brandon Pfaadt and Casey Mize on the low end. So once again, my 6 pitchers, Crochet, King, Gasser, Marsh, Pfaadt, and Mize. And really the reason why I'm playing Gasser, because I actually think Gasser is way too expensive at 8,600 for just his second start. But I just, I looked over this Pittsburgh lineup. Looks like there's going to be some strikeouts available. And if he can come in with some version of elite control, I think he'll have an okay start. But that's what so I'm really not in love with Gasser, but I'm just kind of getting him in. But yeah, that's what I have for pitcher. Favorite tournament pitcher for me today is Alec Marsh at 8K versus, not versus, but alongside King or Crochet. Probably King because once again he's almost $1,000 cheaper. And we are ready for tiers if everybody else is ready.
Yeah, let's set it up. By the way, Narniak in chat is asking about Taj Bradley. That is the wrong slate. That is tonight's slate. To answer your question, yes, Taj Bradley was once upon a time an uber prospect for Tampa. He came back. He was been injured. He came back, looked really, really good. We'll be talking about him later on tonight, but he's certainly viable on the night slate. But we care about today and today only. Specifically, we care about today in the afternoon only, right now in the afternoon. And we'll care about tonight.
Yes, here we go, Dean. We're in tiers. And today's tiers are, I'm from South Carolina. I live in Charleston. And so it is Southern cuisine, okay? That's what we're talking about today, Southern cuisine. At the top, number one. And the reason why I picked this one number one is because I felt like this is number one probably across the board for all of the country. If you said, hey, when you think about Southern cuisine, fried chicken's got to be number one for almost everyone, right? I mean, you can get fried chicken anywhere in the country and people understand like, hey, this is like a Southern cuisine staple. Next is a little bit more regional, if you will, to Southern cuisine, and that's shrimp and grits. You go anywhere in the South along this corridor, shrimp and grits is a staple, and you can get it different ways. You can get it with a brown gravy, a cream gravy, but typically, man, you can get it a Creole style, all types of ways you can get it. But shrimp and grits is a huge one down here in the South. Also, this was probably going to be a little bit more across the country and probably across the world, mac and cheese. Southern cuisine, mac and cheese. People love mac and cheese. That's third on the list. I don't have to over-explain that one. You can get that anywhere. This one is probably.
Well, what's the key? What's the key to a good mac and cheese, though? Because I feel like mac and cheese has got a wide variance.
I think the key to a good mac and cheese is understanding how you want to approach your flavor. Now, here's what I mean by that. If you use a whole milk is going to give you a different flavor, right, than a condensed milk. So knowing that little nuance, and then are you going salt and pepper? Are you going to add a little bit extra? So I typically add a cheese sauce as well to my mac and cheese with the eggs and butter when I put it in over the hot noodles, right? To make the noodles kind of a little bit more sticky. I also boil my noodles in milk and water, and so it makes the noodles a little bit more creamy. I know that seems weird, but it makes it a little bit more creamy. I won't get into the full recipe, but that's how I do mine. I also cut up the block cheese. I want people to understand I don't just use a cheese sauce. I also cut up block cheese as well and put that in there. So anyway, mac and cheese.
I knew you'd have a good answer on that. I knew you'd have a well thought out answer on that. Continue. Go ahead.
Oh yeah. And Los Bravos says stop calling it Southern cuisine. It is soul food, but some of these are more Southern. So that's why I said Southern cuisine. Los Bravos gotta roll that in there. Low country boil. Now this is something that's probably a little bit more southeastern. I'm going to say South Carolina. North Carolina, let's go Georgia, probably
Charleston.
Obviously Charleston, but probably parts of Louisiana, Alabama as well. Low country boil. So what a low country boil is, you're going to have either crab or crab legs, sausage, corn, potatoes. You add boiled eggs if you would like. You can add some shrimp or some crawfish. You're going to have that thing simmering in some and it can be a garlic butter sauce. It can be a garlic butter sauce with some Old Bay seasoning. You can do it a lot of different ways. You could use Tony Chachere's, if you will. But anyway, that's low country boil. All of that is put together in a big stew pot. You boil it. You take it. You can put it in a pan. You can put it in a bowl. You can put it on a plate. You can dump it out across newspaper. There's tons of ways you can do this. But that's low country boil. And then last but not least, this one, we're going to Louisiana here. That's gumbo. Gumbo, Southern cuisine, all down the way. And this is today's ranking system.
Just to be clear,
well, hold it, Dean. I have a small problem.
Go for it.
You yelled at me for this, and I guarantee you're not going to yell at Will. The way the tiers are supposed to work is that you're saying that gumbo sucks. It's supposed to be like the worst.
This is the question I was asking. I was going to ask this exact question because TJ is an anarchist.
Because I looked
TJ
at
has started this trend.
I love gumbo. Gumbo is definitely not an F tier Southern cuisine thing, but yeah, maybe it's fifth in your rankings, but it's not bad. It's supposed to be
trash. Like the thing that's fifth is supposed to be the worst, but TJ has thrown the whole thing out of whack. Bobby followed suit.
Okay,
maybe you did it as well. So
yeah, that's pretty much what I did, D. But here's the thing: if I wanted to name, a bad Southern cuisine thing.
What is the worst bad Southern
would
food?
be chitlins, okay, or chitterlings. If you say chitlins, okay, would probably be at the bottom of the list because there's a great divide, and not a lot of people are going to be eating chitlins or chitterlings if you pronounce it from the actual box. But anyway, hey guys, listen,
it's your list.
Yeah, it's my list. And what I tried to do, Dean, I tried to go overarching, like what would be like the top food that most people would eat, whether they knew where it was from or not. Fried chicken, right? Right. I think that's the clear chalk best Southern cuisine. You can get that. People have taken it and done chicken and waffles. They've done it in so many different ways. Fried chicken, I think, is the top Southern cuisine option. And then we kind of went down from there. And these are my rankings.
You have any other issues with this, Blender, or shall we just get into the teams?
I just want to make sure that that your standards with the tier. If I got reamed out the first time I did a tier list, I want to make sure that Will gets reamed out the same way.
Listen,
we live in a society.
To
people are breaking the rules.
I'm ready to take it, Dean. I'm ready to. Dean, you can scold me for not putting something awful on the list.
I'm just saying, if you like gumbo, it's not fair to gumbo to compare to throw it in the same pot.
So guess what?
Marlins.
I actually don't like gumbo, for what it's worth.
Is this a consensus rankings, or this is your specific rankings?
These are my specific
you take a poll.
rankings. These are my, but Dean. But listen, what I'm saying is,
okay,
people like gumbo. I'm not a gumbo guy. Like somebody said, jambalaya. I'd absolutely eat jambalaya over gumbo. And the main reason I'm not really into gumbo is because people typically put okra in gumbo, and I hate okra. So thus, right. So thus, gumbo is at the bottom for me. I love low country. I mean, low country boil is huge, but guess what, Dean? I hate picking through blue crabs. My wife loves blue crabs. I hate blue crabs. You do all that picking and cutting and popping for a piece of meat that's going to last 0.5 seconds on your chew. So low country boil, I prefer to eat it with scallops or shrimp, peeled shrimp, by the way, or anything like that. So these are my personal rankings. So I like low country boil, right? But I don't like all the work that goes into eating all those things. So anyway, this is the ranking system today. Hopefully it got people engaged. Hopefully you go out to your local soul food restaurant and get you something from a local chef that's doing it. Oh, almost knocked my camera off the desk. That's doing it big. There you go.
Producer Steve says okra should be last.
Yeah, I get it. Okra,
just eat whatever
for sure.
you want. Just whatever. You're going to play whatever lineup you want based on my advice. Go eat whatever you want.
Blender, let's rank these this FanDuel game. Toronto and Baltimore, 7 total. Kikuchi versus Bradish, basically a coin toss. Not a lot of runs expected. Let's throw them on the board. I know it's not in the DK slate, but for those that are playing,
not even on my radar, dude. I mean, I don't know.
All right, well, put them in the middle, then, I guess.
I'm playing a lineup on DraftKings. And we're just gonna automatically just say screw it. They're mac and cheese and move on. That's it.
Could go either way.
Will,
do you have a take on Toronto, Baltimore, or screw it, forget it?
Oh yeah, I mean, I would have liked Baltimore a lot more with Chris Bassett pitching, but now that Kikuchi's pitching, like I don't even care about this game. So yeah, mac and cheese it is.
Okay, this is on the DK slate. It's on the FanDuel slate. 8.5 total. Detroit's pretty big favorite here, -168. That is Casey Mize taking on Trevor Rogers. Marlins, Tigers. Will, set the board for us. Where are you putting the Marlins and the Tigers?
Marlins are going in low country boil for me. Tigers are going mac and cheese.
Blender, any issues?
I'd probably move them up a little. I think the Tigers for this slate is a shrimp and grits staff.
I can agree with that.
I'm fine with mac and cheese. But like the only reason is that I think I'm much more likely to attack Trevor Rogers than play Trevor Rogers. And I'm much more likely to play like Mize than the Marlins, but I don't mind playing the Marlins against Mize. So like from an ownership standpoint, I think the Marlins should be they both should kind of move up a little because they both project well enough that they probably shouldn't be in the low country boil. But I'm fine. I mean, it's semantics. It's like one tier type of thing.
Just got an Arizona lineup. There's no Corbin Carroll left on left. Day game after a night game. Marte, Grichuk, Gurriel, Walker, Suarez, Moreno, Blaze Alexander doing the DHing. McCarthy and Newman is batting ninth for Arizona. We'll talk about them in just a second. I do not believe we have a Pittsburgh lineup, but we're going to talk about Pittsburgh taking on Robert Gasser. Projected lineup is McCutchen, Reynolds, Joe, Cruz, Olivares, Gonzalez, Bart, Triolo, and Michael A. Taylor. Brewers are a minus 148 favorites, 8.5 total. Gasser versus Perez. This is your board blender where we put in Milwaukee and Pittsburgh. No Yelich for Milwaukee.
Before I do that, I hope that, since I got this is all like, because last week I got reamed out for doing the metal genres. I hope Stevie comes in and scolds Will for putting.
Well, no, it was some of the songs you referenced. I think it wasn't necessarily the genre.
So listen, when I put this list together, I was trying to think about the people, right, and what's going to be most recognizable across the board. Thus, fried chicken is at the top, shrimp and grits, mac and cheese. Low country boil, like if you go out to California, some people may not even know what low country boil is.
Yeah, but you should rank it high. How else would they know more about low country boil? Unless if you ranked it number one, people in California would be like, maybe we should check that out.
Well, I'm interested.
Number 4, now it's like, okay, maybe I don't check it out.
Fade.
Well, that's why I explained every dish and what went into it. Love, peace, and soul.
That's not following the rules. Dean told me the rules, and you're not following them.
Blender is still really stung from a week ago. I didn't realize you're this sensitive, Blender. And we didn't really. We should have yelled at you more, to be honest.
This list is not absurd. It's just a collection of Southern cuisine, soul food, and obviously they're all good. Obviously they're all good.
Well, Steve will jump on like 15 minutes or so, and he'll yell at you about what he sees as wrong. So we'll have a fun conversation.
This around, by the way, the Brewers and the Pirates.
Yeah,
I think because of remember, I always do the tiers based on, because you have to factor ownership into these also. I think the Pirates should be in shrimp and grits because I think Robert Gasser is going to be overowned, and he may not be. I mean, this may be a high variance situation. I'm not a big fan of playing the Pirates. And the Brewers, like, we've been trying to stack against Martin Perez for like 17 years.
It worked out twice.
It never works. There's no way that the Brewers should ever be more than mac and cheese when they're facing any stack against Martin Perez should be the mac and cheese level at the highest. And the Brewers also, like, with the lefties and the righties and whatever, and the pitch hit, the Brewers are, and they don't even project like great against Martin Perez. So I would personally flip the Pirates and the Brewers on the list.
You're saying flip. You're not flipping your own opinion. You're flipping producer Steve's opinion. Just to be clear, he's kind of like plays this game where he guesses where they're at, and he does a really good job of it. But you're basically saying you disagree with Steve, just so you know, Blender. That those weren't already there.
I don't know. I didn't know if Steve, if that's what he would consider, or he just
that's what he's doing.
He just wants to get this over with. So it's like he just throws two things up on the thing. I hope you agree with this.
It's like a Ouija board. But he's sort of like he's subtly implying where things should go, and you just kind of play along and go with it. I think that's how that works. But yeah, we're putting. Will, do you agree or disagree? And then I'll break the tie if necessary.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good with that.
Okay, well, I guess I'm not necessary because we got Pittsburgh and shrimp and grits and Milwaukee right in the middle there with mac and cheese. Let's keep on going. Again, just a 6-game slate on DK. Let's talk about Washington and the White Sox. We talk about a lot of that White Sox lineup being completely horrendous against lefties specifically, but they are facing Patrick Corbin, who has been horrendous in his own right. No Washington lineup just yet. This team, they did play a doubleheader yesterday, so maybe we get some guys resting. Day game after a doubleheader. The White Sox rolling out Pham, Vaughn, Jimenez, DeYoung, Benintendi, Lee, Sheets, Remillard, and Shoemake. So Nicky Lopez is not playing, which is actually he's a lefty and left on left, but also he's pesky, right? Because he doesn't strike out. No Washington lineup just yet. Will, you're setting the board for Washington and the White Sox.
Yeah, give me White Sox goes in gumbo, and Washington. I'm actually going to put them in low country boil today. because I think their K rates are lower. I'm actually kidding about White Sox. They need to be in at least in mac and cheese today. I'm kidding. Like, listen, man, I get it, but it's Patrick Corbin, bro. I can't. Like, you need to play some White Sox today at least, because Corbin's he's terrible. I'm just hoping he gives up like 8 hits. They score 4 runs against him early, and he completes 6 innings, so I can hit both sides of this. So I would say White Sox middle of the road despite their struggles, and then same thing, and then Washington Low Country Boy, just because the K rates are a little bit lower, and I'm expecting Crochet to not have as much upside today.
Blender, we agree or disagree? We're throwing both teams here in tier 4. The low.
No. White Sox mac and cheese. White Sox mac and cheese.
Yeah, White's right. If the White
Okay,
Sox
I'm just reading the board.
I could go along with this. And the Nationals aren't gumbo because it comes down to they're going to be low country broil only because on a slate of this size, I mean, Crochet is going to be this like a high owned pitch, such a high owned pitcher that there's always value on slates of this size to play the stack against one of these high-owned pitchers, so they can never be gumbo, right? If it was against a garbage pitcher no one's playing, the Nationals would be on the bottom.
Yeah.
Will, you said at the start of the show there's like 3 teams, like 3 offenses you're excited about. Has that been tempered, or are they on layaway? Are they coming?
No, I've got one is coming up shortly.
Okay.
And another one is coming up shortly, and the other one was Detroit.
Okay. I feel like this could be a really low scoring slate. You never really know how this stuff's going to turn out, but it feels like like 120 points might be really good on this score on this slate. Again, goofy stuff can happen always. Ownership's going to condense, and if a couple games really shoot out, then like all of a sudden you might need 200. But to me, it feels like it's going to be a really, really low scoring slate. This is your board, Blender. We did get an Arizona lineup, no Cincinnati lineup just yet. Cincinnati dealing with some injuries. They had the 2 lefties who came up with Cabell. He's not projected to be in there, but he was pinch hit for when a lefty came in. Hurtu BC also was a stone minimum 2K guy who was pinch hit for when a lefty came in. Again, no official lineup yet for Cincinnati, but just be on alert because at Cincinnati, they are dealing with some injuries. I believe Friedel. I'm pretty sure Friedel's the one. Is it Friedel or Freely? No, Fraley's available. I think Friedel's on the IL. Yeah. Mike Ford, somebody they got off the scrap heap, is probably going to crack the lineup, so he's cheap. Again, no lineup just yet, but Cincinnati, you're going to get a goofy iteration. This is your board, Blender, the Reds versus the D-backs. We talked about Arizona, no Coral.
This is my lineup currently right now has both these teams, like a game stack of both sides. The Diamondbacks are obviously going to be more owned, so I would put the Diamondbacks in where they are in the shrimp and grits. And my top team on the slate is the Reds against Brandon. I mean, the bat typically doesn't like Brandon Fat or Fat. Well, how do you pronounce it? It doesn't matter. Fought. Okay, that's how you do it.
Just the past tense of fighting.
Okay, so like at any time Brandon Fought is pitching, I typically have unders on him. You could pay up for Ellie De La Cruz. I mean, like the salary doesn't really matter that much. Right now, my single lineup is a Michael King, Patrick Corbin lineup with a 5-man Reds, 3-man Diamondbacks, and I'm not. And I mean that I'm taking these lineups directly out of SimLabs, so that's what I'm going with. So my tiers have to be the Reds because obviously the Diamondbacks are.
That's Ricky Bobby style.
Right. So like that's how I got mine. Those tiers, that's how I play.
By the way, Washington lineup came out and no CJ Abrams. So Crochet looks even better. The best hitter for Washington. Kind of referenced it before. Like Washington played a doubleheader yesterday. Now it's a day game. They're giving him a day. The speedster young leading off, then Senzel, Vargas, Meneses, Ruiz, Adams. So they're playing both their catchers, Lipscomb, Robles, and Nunez. This is a bad Washington lineup. Crochet, you thought he was going to be popular before, he's going to project even better now. Not saying things can't go awry. We've certainly seen it happen with him before, but he's going to be mega, mega chalk. All right. We'll jump in here as far as your thoughts when it comes to Cincinnati and Arizona.
Yeah, Arizona's in the fried chicken tier for me, and I've got the Reds in the mac and cheese tier. but that's where I am. So Dean, you may have to split the difference. I really like Arizona. I think Abbott could have a tough time giving up a whole lot of power to righties, a whole lot of fly balls to righties. I don't think that's something you want to do with this team. So I really like Arizona. They're my top play of the day by a fairly wide margin.
Well, I'm fine swapping. If you want to put Arizona up top and fried chicken, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, let's do it.
The thing about these tier lists, we got to put something in like fried chicken and gumbo.
No, you don't. Nobody's fried chicken worthy. Nobody's fried chicken wortly. It's very clear.
I think Arizona's fried chicken worthy for what it's worth. But
I love that that's a sentence. That's a real sentence.
Arizona we don't have to have a curve here, Dean. There's no like curve, like
you
on every slate there has to be a fried chicken and there has to be a gumbo. Regardless.
No, if the highest score on the test is an 85, we don't add 15 points to everybody's grade. No, you got to study hard. That's it. No, there's no for me. There's no curve. And again, I'm just here to break the tie.
In the future, Dean, in the future,
yes.
When we get to this segment, I'm just going to put everything in the third tier because I'm just going to do the extreme version of like, well, maybe the slate has no, play whoever you want. Everyone's on the third tier. Let's try to fill another 40 minutes after I say that. Like that's kind of what you're saying here. Is you're saying it's like, well, there may not be a worthy one. It's like, well, that's how I think most slates are, right? I'm that person. So it's like at some point I got to say, hey, I'm playing the Cincinnati Reds today. I'm putting them in fried chicken.
I love the comment here from Sven in chat. If somebody turned this thing on for the first time, they wouldn't understand what we're talking about. Yeah, it's out of context. It's like, wait, what is this show about? What are we talking about here? So producer Steve, I believe he actually already moved it as the compromise, right? Cincinnati was up the fried chicken. I think Will was saying mac and cheese. And yeah, I like the move to let's split the difference. Let's compromise and throw them in shrimp and grits. And that's where I have Arizona as well. And there are two more teams. Narniak saying, hey, baby, you're looking rather fried chicken worthy today. See if that line works on your significant other and get back to us.
I'm going to try it when I get off this show.
I don't know who Nasim Nunez is, but that is who is swinging a bat today for Washington in place of Luis Garcia. I mentioned CJ Abrams, but who is Nasim Nunez? Should we know who that is? Am I aware of him? I just forget. Not sure, but that's who's playing baseball today for Washington. Crunch time coming in about 5 minutes or so. You got Stevie. Stevie's going to be yelling at Will, allegedly, about his list. Of course, we have Kevin Roth and Dave Potts. Dave Potts, cheese is good. They probably all have some. Maybe we'll throw that board up for them because they're going to want to kill some time. I promise you that. Maybe we'll throw that board and see if they have any takes when it comes to Will's personal rankings. But let's knock out this last game first. This last game happens to be the Rockies. The Rockies taking on Mike King, who's already really, really chalky. 7.5 total. San Diego mega favorite, despite the fact they are gutless. They lose last night to the Rockies after all. 255 favorite. No lineups just yet. Will, I believe it's your board to set. Gomber versus King. Where do we have the Rockies and the Padres?
Rockies, Gumbo, Padres.
Blender, did I get cut off here?
No, it's him. It's him. It's not. I had to wait for a second. Also, why am I the only one that could act? Wait, Dean, you can't. Your camera hates you. Will freezes in the middle of talking. I'm the only one that did what? It's me and Steve here. That's
what happened. Will heard that Stevie's going to come by and lecture him and yell at him, and then Will's like, you know what? Peace. I'm out of here. I don't need this nonsense.
I would put the Padres on the Low Country boil.
Really? Is that an ownership thing, or just because they're
gutless? No, not even an ownership thing. I mean, really. I mean, I'm looking at bat projections, and like their the thing is that I'll play. Tatis and Machado seem like I'll put them as one. Like instead of doing 2 1-offs, you play Tatis, you play Machado, and then do you need to play anyone else on this team? Like that. That's kind of how I feel. I think Cheese,
you need to play anybody though on the entire slate. There's nobody you feel like you need to play. Like if you want to do that route, who do I need to play on Washington or the White Sox or the Brewers?
Yeah, but who do I need to play on the you're making my point for me. Who do I need to play on the Padres? It feels like if I'm going to play the Padres, if I play Tatis and Machado, I'm good. Like why am I playing 5? Why am I playing 5 of these? Why am I playing Donovan
But
Solano?
I'm saying I could say the same thing about Pirates, and you got Pirates up there in shrimp and grits.
Yeah, but they're the type of team that you want to stack. Like it's not like I want Robert Gasser to get shelled. Like the thing here with the Padres is that like for their price, like why am I paying $4,200 for Ha-Sung Kim batting at the bottom of the order for?
I agree with you. Yeah.
Right.
I'm just playing
like that.
the,
Xander Bogaerts probably shouldn't be a $4,100 second baseman anymore. Right. Profar at 4,300. He's like Arias. Do we want to pay like what's his ceiling at 4,500? It's just like it's a price.
He needs like 4 singles.
Right. But to me, it's not the Padres. It's the Padres versus the price of that. Like they're not like if you're gonna play the Padres and they're expensive and you're gonna stack them, you're stacking them with Tatis and Machado anyway. And it's like, well, for those prices on all the other players in their lineup, I'd rather just have the Diamondbacks. I'd rather have the Reds. I'd rather have the Pirates. I'd rather have the Tigers that are even cheaper. And the Padres could throw up 7 runs and Tatis and Machado have most of the output anyway. So it just feels like the stack. I'm fine with the team. I just don't like the stack as much.
Chime in here, Will. What do you got as far as San Diego and Colorado?
I'm just standing firm here. Padres need to be higher up. I don't trust.
Well, where should they go? Let's talk about it.
Shrimp. I had shrimp and grits.
Yeah, that's where I would put them too. But we'll compromise. We can compromise a blender and throw it in mac and cheese.
All right.
Do you have the Rockies hanging out with gumbo?
Oh yeah,
I'm fine with the Rock. I mean,
yeah,
I'm fine.
That's what I said. Rockies gumbo.
Put it in gumbo. I'm fine with it.
I think they need to be higher. They've been good the last. What? They've been good. Look at their last few games.
Yeah. Well,
I don't
where would you happen in the last few games? That it has to happen again. That's the rule, right?
That's what we said. That's what you said last time, and it exactly happened.
Right.
Steve, you want to give me 20 seconds in the Knicks?
They're amazing. We beat them by 30 last night with none of our players except Brunson. All of our good guys are hurt.
Enjoy the Knicks.
I'm expecting some more enthusiasm, but yeah,
the Mets are going to let you down.
Yeah, well,
enjoy the Knicks. That's God. The Mets, man. Steve, the Mets never help me. They only hurt me. I like the Mets. I get the Mets involved in the prop game and you know what they do? They crumble and fail every single time. Spend all that money, and
they're gutless.
They called up Vientos though, so all is well in the world. Vientos is getting the call up. They're not in the main slate tonight, so I think they're taking on Ranger Suarez. We don't have to mess with them. We don't have to deal with them. But yeah, they're not.
I think Colorado wets the bed on this day slate though, for what it's worth. Day slates are already weird, anyways. I think Colorado gets their butt kicked today.
Just want to give the summary as far as the board. Fried chicken is all by itself. Like there's nobody there to cuddle, nobody there to hang out with fried chicken. No team is fried chicken worthy. They're in a tier that just like all these offenses kind of stink. Or they're hanging out with shrimp and grits. That's Detroit, Pittsburgh, Arizona, Cincinnati. Mac and cheese, we got Milwaukee, the White Sox, San Diego. We did throw Baltimore and Toronto in there for FanDuel, but we're not really well researched.
How about the Royals and the Mariners? We're missing that game.
Oh, let's knock that one out. My bad. My apologies. Thunder, give us the Royals and the Mariners.
Based on your criteria, what? Just throw them in mac and cheese, right?
It's not my criteria. This is a great
someone has to be fried chicken worthy. And I'm fine agreeing with Will, even though they're going to be owned, of putting the Diamondbacks in fried chicken. I don't want to leave without my fried chicken. I think the Diamondbacks, they're fine if you want to put them in fried chicken. We have a gumbo team. We have to have some symmetry here.
Symmetry is not something you have. If it happens organically, symmetry is great, but I don't think it's the
people are tuning in for our opinions. If they look at the board and it's like everything's in the middle, it just feels like no one has any balls to say what they're going to do. And it's like, I'm telling you, I'm playing the Diamondbacks Reds game.
Well, your opinion is on symmetry. That's not an opinion.
I'm saying that I'm not playing the Rockies and I'm playing the Diamondbacks. And if that doesn't work out, so be it. Like not everything has to be in the middle.
Will Seattle and Kansas City? Where do you got Seattle and Kansas City?
Kansas City for me is mac and cheese. Seattle's going to be low country boil.
Ooh, so they're going to end up in the middle. because
I don't trust Seattle, man. I don't care what they're doing. These K rates, man, are just terrible.
All right. So is this officially our board? Arizona, Blender's insisting on putting it. He did an executive decision, even though it's not even his rankings. That's fine.
Well, I tried to make an executive decision.
I wanted the Reds. I wanted Reds in fried chicken, but I'm going with Will's fried chicken. I'm just saying, my only point, I don't care what team. Put whatever team you want. There's got to be fried chicken. That's the only thing that I'm saying.
Okay, so this is our board. I believe Crunch
fried
will be
chicken,
here moment.
A staple across every American table. Fried chicken.
But we're not arguing with fried chicken being the number, the tier, like the tier name. We're arguing what team should be hanging out with them.
I know. Yeah. I get it. DJ, can you fix your camera? Did you unplug it and plug it back up?
I was afraid to because I thought I might goof something up. So I just figured if I sounded perfectly fine, no worries. But Michael and chat, we have perfect symmetry. That is correct. Our symmetry is spectacular. It's like the Dallas Cowboys logo or something like that.
Chemistry. All right. Chemistry. That's from Nutty Professor. For those of you who don't know that movie, that's a good reference. Chemistry.
I've never seen the Nutty Professor. I did not see
That's
that.
Okay,
one.
Dean. That's okay. No problem. No problem.
I'm more of the older Eddie Murphy movies. Blender, Nutty Professor. I bet Blender does not like the Nutty Professor. I'm gonna guess as a snob when it comes to comedy.
Movie, but it's a crappy Eddie Murphy movie, so it's like those are okay.
There's a power ranking we should do one of these days. Power rank Eddie Murphy.
Oh, I almost did the Eddie Murphy.
Well, Coming to America is number one, so that's easy. So
yeah, I think so. But like some people might say, Trading Places.
But those are his good movies. Once he got older, it's just like okay.
Flubber is down at the bottom. What's his worst movie? The Pluto Nash. That might be the worst one.
He didn't do Flubber. Flubber was Robin Williams.
Oh, that was Robin Williams. Yeah.
Good.
I was thinking Professor, and I got Flubber. Same thing. That was a bad. Robin Williams made a lot of terrible movies too. A lot of good movies, a lot of terrible movies. But I don't know why we're taking shots at Eddie Murphy. That's just me. And Robin Williams. So one of these days, well, next time you're on, maybe we'll knock that out. We'll figure it out.
Maybe I'll rank Eddie movies the next time. And I'll actually do good to bad. See, so guy here that says power. See, Harlem Nights. I can assure you, most haven't seen Harlem Nights. Harlem Nights is a good movie. I like Harlem Nights. Dean, have you ever seen Harlem Nights? I'm gonna assume no.
Yes, Arsenio Hall's in it.
Okay, so you've seen it then. All right.
Many years ago. It's been a long time. I couldn't tell you I've seen it, but it's been a long time. Yeah,
Richard Pryor, Della.
Same with Beverly Hills Cop. I've not seen that in forever, and I feel like they're making a new Beverly Hills Cop. I could be making that up, but I feel like that's the thing that's happening.
I think they're doing something. Yeah. There you go.
Life with Martin Lawrence being thrown out there in chat. Bowfinger with Steve Martin.
That was one of his later ones. Life was a later one. Bowfinger later. Norbit, those are later ones. Like, those are all later ones.
I agree that Bowfinger is underrated as a movie.
One of my favorite later ones is actually Daddy Daycare. Like that was a little bit more clean, but Daddy Daycare is actually pretty funny to me.
With Jeff Garland. I didn't see it.
Yes.
I think there's a sequel to that too. And it's in the bin right now. If you want to watch Daddy Daycare too, it's $1 at Walmart in the DVD bin.
But he's not in that one, I don't think. But his version of Daddy Daycare actually was pretty good. I like that.
Did you like the sequel to Coming to America? Well, I know we talked about this previously. I know it's one of your favorite movies, but
yeah,
it kind of happened,
I think it was fine for the storyline they tried to build. Like, it was okay. Yeah.
10 years too late, maybe. Like maybe it came out a little bit late. Who knows? It might have played better in 2005. Like Dumb and Dumber 2 came out 20 years too late. It's like we asked for this 20 years ago, but okay, I guess we'll watch it. Crunch Time should be coming in here momentarily. Oh, they are here. Oh, they've been here for a couple minutes. I'm just seeing that now. My apologies. Making Crunch Time wait in the wings. A little bit of goofiness as far as the schedule today. FanDuel and DK did not get along. I do want to bring Crunch Time in. We got Kevin Roth. We got Dave Potts. We have a very fired up Stevie. Stevie was not happy with our board. Maybe we'll show the board one more time with the people, but I know Stevie had some complaints when it comes to Will's power rankings. Let's bring on Crunch Time. It is Stevie. It is Dave Potts. It is Kevin Roth. Stevie, you were fired up in the chat. What was your major gripe? You and Will tend to get along really famously when you do these shows there for the morning grind, but you were at odds. You disagree with your boy.
Yeah, I mean, who is going to a restaurant and ordering mac and cheese over a low country boil? Like nobody. Like anybody that has ever had a low country boil, it's going to be. I mean, you can't really argue with the fried chicken thing, but like low country boil is way better than shrimp and grits, way better than mac and cheese. Like you could potentially, like if you had good gumbo, that should be higher than shrimp and grits and mac and cheese. So don't even get me started on this list. I get what Will was trying to do with like pleasing the people, but what's the point in that? I mean, that's not the list. That's not the, like Blender should have been losing his mind because of that. Like Blender came on here with his terrible list last week, but at least it was his list and like how he liked ranking it. But
it was terrible.
I mean,
but this is my list though, because I'm not big into gumbo, and I explained that like because of the okra effect.
Yeah, but you should add. Oh, you said how much you hate okra, so just put okra there. But
okra isn't a dish. That's just a vegetable. You get what I'm saying?
Still the worst tier. So what does it matter? That's your word. It's all a plate of okra is if you're playing the Rockies today, you're eating a plate of okra. That's what it should be like.
Well,
Big Okra is watching, and Big Okra, they would stop sponsoring the show if they happen to see a Phoebus merch. Dave typing in the chat, what is happening? Dave, Roth,
this is not what I expected to walk into this morning. Like you already had me thinking about Eddie Murphy movies, and now we're talking about if someone is too low on gumbo, like goodness gracious.
We had an hour.
Go ahead and go get your haircut, and we'll just do that.
Roth or Dave, if you have a thought, by all means, feel free to share it, or you can yell at Will on his way out the door. But myself and Will and Blender, we're going to step aside and get out of here and make way for crunch time. You guys got plenty of time as far as the DK slate. I believe that locks at 1:10 on the East Coast. FanDuel slate locks at 12:35 or so, the 4-gamer, but I think all the prize pools are kind of meh. But if you want to talk about Toronto, Baltimore, by all means, go for it. Hit that like button, do subscribe, turn on those notifications, hit all the buttons, do all those things. Get RG Premium. Links are in the description. You got your discounts if you want 6 months, 1 month, or 3 days. Roth, take it away.
Good stuff. Welcome to it, ladies and gents. This is crunch time. We may debate some foods, but we will certainly debate some pitchers and some stacks. Stevie, I've never heard the phrase low country boil. Is that just like a seafood boil?
Yeah, seafood boil.
Okay.
You know,
I've never heard
shrimp, crawfish, all that good stuff, like potatoes, corn. Like, yeah, I mean, just
pairs so well with beer too.
Oh, I know. Like you go like Father's Day, you do a low country boil with some beers, and like I mean, no one's saying you're eating that over, like you're eating mac and cheese over that. Like I was losing my mind when I saw that. I was like, what are we doing?
All right, that's a little off. But hey, have you guys had Gus's fried chicken, by the way? There's one in Nashville. Have you had it's Gus's world famous fried chicken. Has anyone had this?
Never heard of it, but I'm intrigued already.
I think it comes from Memphis originally. And it's the best fried chicken that I've ever had by so many levels that I don't even know what's next. So next time we're all in Nashville, we got to hit up Gus's fried chicken.
Done.
Good.
The thing about that list they're arguing about, if fried chicken is on a list, doesn't matter what else is on that list.
Yeah, we're just going right there. Yeah, we're going right to the fried chicken. Hey, welcome to it, ladies and gents. You know the drill. It's crunch time. To the sharpest minds in the biz, helping you to walk through the slate. I'm going to give you some winners here, and of course, we got my guy Stevie in the house. How you doing, Stevie?
I'm good, man. It's been a long couple of days, but I'm good.
I feel that. We got Dave Potts as well. Cheese is good in the house. Cheese, you like the slate? You okay with it?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, it's weird. It's a very weird slate, like with the lack of. Just look at the names of the teams. Like none of the good baseball teams are on the slate, which just makes it weird. But yeah, I kind of like it. I mean, there's still plenty of ways to go.
Okay. Well, we will give the people those ways to go. We like to start talking about weather, but I don't really see weather being an issue anywhere today. If anything, it would be in Minnesota later tonight, not on this slate. And I don't even think that's going to be a problem. I've got it as yellow-orange right now. I'm probably about to drop that down even a little lower. So bottom line is I don't think that weather is going to be a problem, or at least a noteworthy problem. just, super low chances of delays in a bunch of games that we really shouldn't be stressing about. So with that, we can just move right along from weather into the pitching. And Cheese, you like to start off giving me the arms.
Yep. Okay, so this is where the slate just starts out super interesting. Like, very obviously, Michael King is like mega chalk.
Wow.
Because he's facing the Rockies. He had this magical start against the Dodgers last week, which is going to stick in everyone's mind. Michael King is all over the place. Like, he can be great, he can be bad, he can be somewhere in the middle. It's a great matchup. He has all kinds of upside. It's weird mega chalk. And
okay. I've never even heard of the dude. Like, I've never heard of the name.
That's how weird of chalk it is.
Yeah.
And I think in like smaller field, single entry stuff, I think we'll be pushing 70% Michael King. That's nonsense. Like, he's not that good. But at the same time, he and Garrett Crochet are like tier of their own for upside today. I mean, either one of them could strike out 12 batters, and it wouldn't even be that surprising. But Michael King is also so inconsistent. Like, it wouldn't be at all surprising if he goes 4 innings with 4 runs and 3 walks with 4 strikeouts. At 50-60%, I am under the field on him. There's no way I can go complete fade because of what the rest of the slate is. But officially, like, Michael King should not be one of the highest owned pitchers on any slate all year, regardless of what the slate is and the matchup. That's my opinion on it. I'm definitely playing Garrett Crochet ahead of him. There's nothing sneaky about Crochet either. He'll be the second highest owned pitcher, but considerably less than King. And you've got the salary. So I'm playing Crochet over King. I do have plenty of lineups with both of them, which would be the chalk and kind of the obvious best way to go. But I'm less than where I think the field is going to be on King. So that leaves me needing a second pitcher out of this group of basically nonsense pitchers against nonsense offenses. It's I'm skipping Brian Wu completely. I have 0 of him. I do have some Robert Gasser as a direct pivot off of Michael King. I don't think he's really any better or more of a known quantity than King, but at like a third of the ownership, sure, I'm interested. But for the most part, we're talking Brandon Pfaadt, Casey Mize,
War Eagle.
There you go. And even old man Patrick Corbin at 6,200 because he's facing the White Sox. And this is the kind of slate we have. Guys like Patrick Corbin, even Trevor Rogers is viable-ish. Martin Perez is viable-ish. Personally, I have slightly more Trevor Rogers than Patrick Corbin where I need the cheap guy. He's been awful. I just think in reality, Trevor Rogers has more talent than Patrick Corbin. And in most lineups, I don't actually need either of those guys. So for the most part, I'm playing Pfaadt and Mize in the mid-tier. No real preference between them. I have slightly more Mize just because I like the Reds a fair amount. But essentially, I have a lot of Crochet, and then I'm fairly well split up between King, Gasser, Pfaadt, and Mize.
Okay. Good stuff. Stevie kind of nodding in agreement there as you broke that down. Stevie, are you in a similar spot with who your pitchers are and your overall allocation of them?
Kind of. I did end up with more King than Crochet. And as you look at the Washington lineup, sorry, that came out, and you're like, it's not a good lineup, but they don't strike out. Like the lineup that they rolled out today, there's just not a lot of strikeouts in this lineup. So Crochet is, he projects to be a really good strikeout pitcher, but this is a team that's going to put the ball in play a lot. And I think that's where they're like, I'm just going to eat the chalk a little bit on King and just say, I said this in my lineup HQ write-up today as far as Michael King, and I said, which King are we going to get? Are we going to get the elite changeup working off of his fastball in the same like arm slot kind of King, or we're going to get the really bad Michael King and Colorado's going to score some runs? But I'm willing to take that like chalk and just eat it today. But I'm going to play Crochet is like my second highest owned pitcher. Like those two guys, like Cheese was saying, are just the classic, like you're playing those two guys type of thing. Casey Mize is my third highest owned pitcher today. Marlins stink. I mean, there's no like sugarcoating it. They're awful. Casey Mize has some strikeout upside. He's had some tough matchups this year, but like he still projects to be a very talented like pitcher over the next 5 years or so. So if he could figure it out, this would be a good spot for him to figure it out. So going to play a little bit of him. I'm going to stack Cincinnati, but I'm also going to play a little bit of Fiat. And I mean, for me, I ended up on a little bit of Brian Wu and Alec Marsh, and I'm not playing Patrick Corbin and Trevor Rogers. It's a weird slate. It was really like interesting to build 20 lineups today because, you definitely want to get Crochet King and Gasser, and then the rest of these guys are just kind of blah. But like I said, Casey Mize is someone that I'm kind of taking a stand on here. I really like this spot for him.
Very good. Jeff in the chat says no Marsh. Stevie, you mentioned a little bit of Marsh. Cheese, any Marsh?
I don't have it. There's nothing. He's viable. I have 0 personally.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the only thing that like Alec Marsh is right now is Seattle is just striking out at like an all-time high. So I'm playing Marsh just because like they might hit a couple bombs off of him, but maybe he gets like 6+ strikeouts. And I'm just trying to score 15 fantasy points today with some of these secondary pitchers, and hoping that like one of King or Crochet or Gasser gets like 25+.
Gotcha.
So.
Okay. Well, let's flip it around.
Which they probably will. That's the thing about this slate. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think you can double punt because it's likely that one of those top guys has a good game.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about some of the bats and some of the stacks. Stevie, we saw the rankings, and they only had one team ranked in the fried chicken ranking, the elite rankings. So are we struggling for something really good here?
No, I mean, I think this is a spot where I'm going to play a lot of Padres and just kind of hope that they show up today. I mean, they are definitely like captain of the gutless club, but Austin Gomber is not good. He has a low strikeout rate. He walks guys. He gives up power. Like, if there was ever a spot for the Padres to hit well, I mean, this is a spot. And I mean, I do like the Arizona and Cincinnati game a lot. I think that, that's a very stackable game. And then a team I feel like they're kind of flying under the radar today because we hate stacking against Perez, but I like the Brewers. They're a team that can steal bases. They have home run upside. The lineup today is not the best lineup in the world, so maybe that's why they're not getting a ton of ownership, but I always like playing the Brewers, so I'm going to be playing them as well.
Okay. Cheese, your thoughts stack-wise?
Yeah, so let me just take this weird opportunity to say, like, as like an industry, you just get on these paths of one team or one player, just everyone rags on them, and all of a sudden we decide they suck. The Padres are 5th in the freaking major leagues in scoring. They're 5th. This is not some terrible team at all. Like, stop. They're not an amazing DFS team because it's just a couple of power guys, but this is not a bad team, and they're not even playing bad. I mean, they're disappointing in real life for what they should be, but again, they're 5th in the league in runs. 5th. This is not a nonsense team. You can be gutless and not be nonsense.
Yeah,
that's what I'm going to say.
Okay.
So I do like the Padres, but I think my main lean on this slate is not to full stack everywhere, because full stacking any of these teams leads you to a real obvious build. That's something I figure out when I build by hand. It's like, so I'll put this stack together, put these pitchers in, and it's like, oh, well, very obviously, this is what my lineup looks like. And it ends up in these real common builds where if you stack San Diego or Arizona or Cincinnati, then you end up with 3 cheap White Sox and King and Crochet. It's a fine looking lineup, but there's nothing interesting about it or unique about it. My preference here is to just play kind of mini stacks, a bunch of 2s and 3s, where I play Reds and Diamondbacks power bats are high up on that list, along with Tatis and Machado. Gary Sanchez, Willie Adames, William Contreras are on that list. And then as far as stacking, I'm going way overboard, which is it's not hard to get over the field, but I'm playing a ton of Royals. I think Brian Wu is probably fine, and I think he was pulled last time out of an abundance of caution. But one start off injury, and he gets pulled for forearm tightness. Like, it's possible that he is broken completely.
Mm-hmm. I
I think he's fine, or otherwise they wouldn't be starting him. I don't think it's likely that he's re-injured, but I think a Royal stack is. I know it's my favorite thing on the board, and I'm not going to try to convince you that it's yours, because if Brian Wu is fine, then it's not a great spot. But I love the Royals.
Okay. Very good. Guys, let's go around the horn. We'll talk a little bit of catcher to begin with. Cheese, what do we got?
We got Gary Sanchez. He's hitting fourth against Martin Perez, and he's 3,400. William Contreras and Cal Raleigh look pretty great as well. Contreras is very expensive. Mitch Garver, Gabriel Moreno are fine. But because I'm not doing the stacking in the same way that I think everyone else is, I think I'm not concerned about Gary Sanchez ownership. So that's mostly what I'm doing.
Okay. Stevie?
Yeah, I mean, Gary Sanchez is my highest owned catcher. Cheap catcher with power against Martin Perez, who can't strike people out. So I'm with him on that. I like Cal Riley if you want to pay up to get a little different. Contreras, obviously, I think is going to be the chalky pay up option, and I think he's in a good spot as well. But I think Cal Riley is someone we could take some shots on here. And then I'm with Cheese. I ended up on more Royals than I thought I was going to today, just in general. So, like, Salvador Perez definitely made my build. So I like him. And then you got the catchers in that Arizona-Cincinnati game. You know, you get potentially, we don't have a Reds lineup yet, but we're potentially having like a punt catcher there. And then Marino against Abbott batting 6 at 3,500 is fine. And I ended up on a little bit of Corey Lee as well, like in this mid-tier against Corbin, just because I don't think Patrick Corbin's a good pitcher.
Okay, first base.
Going back to, I don't think Patrick Corbin's a good pitcher. We got Andrew Vaughn. He's really cheap at 2.9K, hitting second today for the White Sox. He's kind of chalky, which is very interesting because, like, he's not like this like big time power guy. So, I mean, I'm playing him. I'm not playing him as much as the field, but I'm playing him. And then kind of looking at these San Diego first basemen, you know, it's very interesting to see what they're going to do with their lineup, but I kind of buried the lead. Christian Walker against lefty in Arizona. I mean, he's your power spend up option. Love this spot for him. But when I'm spending down, it's probably Mike Ford and Andrew Vaughn. When I'm spending up, it's Walker or even like a Spencer Steer in that same game.
Okay. Cheese first.
Yeah. You know, Kevin, how do you feel about Michael King, Andrew Vaughn, Chalk Day? Like, does that make sense to you?
I don't know these people, so it's
right.
not the usual names that I would associate with chalk.
I have a little Andrew Vaughn because how can you not? But I'm not really on board with Andrew Vaughn chalk. Christian Walker is the play here, and then I love Vinny Pasquantino. Even if Brian Wu is fine, I love Vinny Pasquantino. And that's all I want to say.
Okay, then that's all you have to say. Let's go to second base.
If you got money, Ketel Marte is the play. I guess Andy Ibanez is kind of like the weird, almost Andrew Vaughn level chalk. Like, how do you feel about Michael King, Andrew Vaughn, Andy Ibanez chalk day? Heard of all three of those guys, Kevin?
Nope. We're over
this
three.
Is some weird chalk. This is such a weird little slate. Like, what is this? I don't think I have a single Andy Ibanez team. And if I do, I hope I have time to change it. Did someone say that we have a Kansas City lineup?
Yeah,
it's out.
With
Adam Frazier.
Frazier's
leading
off.
And is Michael Massey in it as well?
Yep.
This is beautiful. I'm playing Royals. And there you go.
Okay. Very good. All right, Stevie. Cheese feels really confident. Like Cheese really loves. Yeah.
I know. I
love the confidence he's got today.
I gotta up my Kansas City exposure. I think I ended up with like 20% stacks of them. So I will say I'm with Cheese as far as like not full stacking as much on the slate as I typically do. I ended up on a lot more like 3-3-2s than I typically do. So, yeah, I mean, if you have the money, Kettle Marte, he's the guy you kind of spend up for here. Xander Bogaerts against Gomber is another guy that I really like. I like Andy Ibanez more than Cheese, but it's like one of those situations where I think Trevor Rogers is broken and he just can't get right-handed batters out this season. He's giving up a ton of hard contact. He's not generating any whiffs. So Ibanez, since the start of last season, has a 260 ISO and a 370 WOBA. So I do like Ibanez. He's cheap. He's hitting second. I hate the fact that he's chalky, but I think that we're going to see Detroit come in a little bit lower owned than their projected ownership because people don't like playing Detroit. So, and the other name I want to mention was Joey Ortiz. He's hitting in the three hole today. Typically hits in like the 6 to 8 hole, and this is a good spot for Joey Ortiz against Perez.
Okay, wonderful. How about third base, Stevie?
Yeah, I feel like we keep saying this, but I mean, when you spend up at third base, I think Manny Machado, just as much as you can play him today, you play him. I mean, yeah, the Padres, they're hit or miss, but when they're on Machado against a lefty, it's hard to fade him in this spot. So I really like him. Josh Rojas as a pivot has been really good this season. Alec Marsh, not a guy that's going to go out there and blow the ball by anybody, so I don't mind that. And then, like, if you really want to get off the chalky Crochet, Senzel is someone that I don't mind as a one-off against Crochet. Senzel has power against left-handed pitching, so I don't mind him. And cheaper side of things, maybe like an Owen Miller, but I'm going to get as much Manny Machado as I possibly can today.
Okay. Cheese, I want your third base thoughts. But first, we should note that ProTuber in the YouTube says, hello, I'm watching from Brazil. Thank you for helping me with my decision. That's awesome. We forgot that one thing that we did last random day show was have the people tell us where they're watching from. We had someone actively working in a crane. We had people at school. So let us know where you're watching from, especially if it's at work or at school or something interesting. But shout out to everybody watching internationally, even from Brazil. Cheese, your thoughts at third base?
Yeah. Isn't it like winter in Brazil or something? I don't even understand what's happening down there. I hope you're doing all right down there, man.
Yeah. It's fine. I don't think they have like particularly harsh winters.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Yeah.
But
currently watching from Texas to Brazil, the restaurant.
That's good. Oh man, yeah. So yeah, play Manny Machado. I think Suarez is kind of interesting. I really like Jeimer Candelario. I say his name slightly differently every time. I didn't mention him at first because I'm playing him more at third. But most of my lineups have Machado or Candelario.
Okay. Anthony Stewart says he's in his work truck in the Strip District in Pittsburgh. We're going to need more details on what the Strip District is. That could go a lot of ways.
I hope we're talking steak.
Yeah, we don't know. It could be you could be stripping cars, you could be stripping clothes, it could be New York strips. We don't know, but we're intrigued. Please inform us. Shortstop, Cheese.
Yeah, we got a couple of our classic big spend ups. I think Ellie De La Cruz is the chalk spend up. I do like Bobby Witt as well. They are tough to get to. So I think Willie Adames and Paul DeYoung will be as popular as Ellie De La Cruz. And that's kind of the whole pool for me outside of stacks. I mean, Ha-Seong Kim is okay. But I think Adames is the mid-tier guy that I have the most of. Something I'm doing in general with the cheap White Sox and kind of the same with the cheap Tigers. Like, I don't want to just play DeYoung, Vaughn, Eloy Jimenez, and Pham and have the same 4 White Sox as everyone else. Just like I don't want to have Vierling, Ibanez, Perez, Canna, and have the same 4 Tigers as everyone else. So I'm fine having DeYoung as a one-off. I don't love him in White Sox stacks. That's it.
Okay, great. Stevie, shortstop.
Yeah, Ellie De La Cruz as much as I possibly can. paying up for him. Had kind of a rough night last night and still had a good game because like he can just steal bases at will. Bobby Witt, I like him a lot against Woo. Willie Adames, like those are the three guys that I'm trying to get in as much as I possibly can. Definitely taking up over 50% of my ownership at shortstop with those three guys. And then I don't mind Blaze Alexander against the lefty. I like Arizona, so I'm definitely using him in stacks. And you can use him at second or shortstop. And then Kim against Gomber. I mean, I'm not getting to a lot of like the cheaper end guys outside of I have some De Jong, I have some Baez and some Detroit like three mans, but I love the fact that like Javi Baez is hitting way down in the order. No one's going to play him today. I mean, he swings and misses at everything, but when he does make contact, it goes far. So I don't mind Baez.
Okay, great. How about outfield?
Yeah, I mean, we keep saying it, right? Padres. Tatis as much as I possibly can. I love this spot for him. I like Profar. Profar's sneaky good from the right side of the plate. He has a lot more pop, so I like Profar. Tommy Pham hitting leadoff against Corbin, so Pham and Jimenez in that spot for the White Sox I think is good, and then really any of the Cincinnati outfielders against Fiat, like Will Benson is someone that I really like today. Ended up on him quite a bit in my lineups. And then my boy Mark Canha against Rogers. One of my favorite home run plays today is Mark Canha, so got to get him in there.
Okay, geez, outfield.
Yeah, I will touch on outfield, but I just want to point out my high-res model shows about 75 degrees in Rio de Janeiro. So yeah, stay safe down there in the winter weather.
Wow, that's a tough winter.
90 degrees on Friday. So
oh my, that's
don't
tough.
go out without your jacket on. Tatis for sure. Like, and this goes back to I'm not just stacking everywhere, so I don't have the same lineup. So I can play a couple chalky bats. I prefer the chalky expensive bats over the chalky cheap bats today. Like I would rather play Tatis chalk than Andrew Vaughn chalk. That shouldn't even need to be said out loud, but there it is. I think Jazz Chisholm, even in KCMI's lineups, is another viable spend up. Will Benson interests me, pending that lineup, but he should, even if he's not at the top, it's fine. I like him and Jake Fraley, assuming they're in there. Lourdes Gurriel and Randall Grichuk in that game as well. There's my Royals lineup. So okay, Melendez is in there. So I do like Melendez a good bit as well.
Okay, Dean just dropping a Pirates lineup. By the way, I don't know if you saw this. Geez, it is Kutch, Reynolds, Joe, Cruz, Olivares, Gonzalez, Triolo, Bart, and Taylor.
As usual, our team has exactly those 9 guys in the projected lineup.
Nailed it.
Just Bart and Triolo flipped. They do such a good job of predicting these lineups.
Yeah, sometimes I just kind of check out the chat and just sneak. I never say anything. I don't even want them to know that I'm there, but I'm always impressed as I watch them discuss and figure out, how they come about those things. Hey, Cheese, did you see the data about how hard people swing? It was like the new StatCast type.
Yeah, I haven't spent a ton of time delving into it. It strikes me as for the near-term future, it's going to be very interesting to look at, but not at all useful for actual playing lineups. Like, I think we're a long way from understanding what, if anything, to do with that.
Mm-hmm.
I think what's interesting is all it did is basically confirm what we already know and just, okay, well, this makes more sense as to why this guy is good and this guy hits singles.
Yeah. Here we go. There it is. When you get brilliant minds and number crunchers working to find groundbreaking data that will change the future of baseball analysis, we learned that Stanton swings hard and Luis Arias doesn't. Wow, who knew? I thought it was interesting. I kind of read a whole article on it that some of the guys who swing hard are really good. Some of the guys who swing hard really suck. And some of the guys who don't swing hard are really good. And some of the guys who don't swing hard really suck.
Well, and really and truly, this is the problem with all this new data that we have. And it's not just this. Like, sometimes people are just good or people are just bad. And you can't they can have a 20-year career and it never gets explained with these fancy super stats. So I need to just look at it and say, well, the guy is good. I don't understand why.
He hits it more than the other guys.
Yeah. I mean, it just doesn't matter at some point,
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay. I did find it really interesting that like 98% of the time Stanton swings, it's over 75 miles an hour, and like nobody else was over 75%. Like that makes so much sense when you just watch him play baseball. I mean, his helmet's falling off every time he swings. So
yeah. God, I hate that guy's swing with a passion. I was
It's
almost
so weird.
disappointed.
Like
It's so ugly and weird looking, but apparently he's swinging that thing really freaking hard.
Yeah.
It just looks like he's got this huge piece of lumber, like this giant thing, and he's just freaking just powering it through. Anywho, all right, we got, I don't know, a certain amount of time until lock. Peter says, who is having furniture moved in the background? I have people on my roof, and they are fixing a hole. There's a hole in my roof, and there's not supposed to be holes in your roof. But when a tree falls on your house, that's what happens. So
you've had all kinds of stuff. Dryer, holes in the roof.
Yeah.
I mean, geez.
It's not great. It's been a rough stretch for your boy here.
Yeah.
But
what's next on Crunch Time with Roth?
Right. I'll let you know. Let you know how potty training is going for my 3-year-old next. 2-year-old. Let's dive into some QQs. See what we got here. Season-long question. Cheese, should I waste a start on King?
In season long, yeah, you should definitely be playing King today. Like, I love him. I'm simply saying, as massive chalk, I'm willing to be underweight. But I mean, he's a fantastic play. Like, there's no world in which you wouldn't start him in season long.
Yeah. All right. Let's see, Stevie. This is a 2v2. Massey Renfro or Melendez Pham?
The second one, I think.
Any interest in Michael Taylor, the lone lefty masher today?
Is he playing baseball? I mean,
he's hitting 9th for the Pirates, and he's cheap.
Yeah, I mean, he's really good when he doesn't strike out. It's to be determined whether or not Gasser's going to be a good strikeout pitcher or not. Like, he has really good command. I don't know. Sure.
Okay. Someone's getting a phone call. Who is it?
I heard my kid screaming.
So let me tell you what happened. So it's me, and I figured out finally how to put my phone on do not disturb mode a year ago. And then Mrs. Cheese was like, you can also set it so very important people's calls will come through even when it's on do not disturb. And she manually set hers to come through anytime.
Wow. Nice. Good job, Mrs. Cheese.
Yeah, it worked. It worked.
That's a pro wife move right there. It was like, here's
the first time that's happened. I'm so proud of me. Every time I remember to put it on do not disturb for a show, I'm so super proud of myself. And yet doesn't matter.
Yes. Low owned. This is from K-Town's Finest. Low owned stack on DK for the win. Each of you give me your favorite set. Kansas City, right? Was that the team? Kansas City for Cheese. Stevie?
Man. Low owned stack to win. I mean, Kansas City probably would be mine too. Detroit right now is like an 8% ownership on our tools page. So maybe Detroit. Or no, Milwaukee. What am I thinking? Their ownership's way down. Milwaukee Brewers.
Great. Okay. Hey, did you guys know that there's never been a better time to sign up for RotoGrinders Premium? It's true. And we've got an option for whatever level you are looking for. 6-month combo subscription, exclusive price, $469.99. That's a savings of $250. That's pretty significant as opposed to doing the month-by-month deal. You can also get your first month of RG Premium for $40 off for a limited time. And if you want a test run, a little trial, check it out, scope it out, 3-day pass, $19.99. Check the links in the description for more info. And since we're doing this for free, there's a thumbs up button down there somewhere, right around there. You just hit it, just click it. Just once. If you click it twice, it thumbs ups. So there you go. We got a few more questions, then we're going to bounce out of here. I'm going fishing after this, guys. I'm going fishing. I got a new honey hole.
On a lake, river? Where are you going?
Yeah, so I've got this river that's very fast moving by my house, and I've tried fishing in it, and you cast in it, and it's just, you can't fish in it. But there's some construction going on, and they cut a path near the river. There's like an offshoot where the overflow goes, and it is not flowing fast. And I scoped it, just filled with fish, Cheese. I mean, you can visibly see dozens of fish swimming around. So,
are you a catch and keep and eat fish guy?
God, no. I am in the ocean. Yes.
Okay.
But I'm not eating anything out of a Houston bayou, you know?
No, I was just making sure. I mean, I
Yeah.
know you are a Florida boy, but I mean,
Yeah, if I'm saltwater fishing, I'm keeping and I'm eating. If I'm fishing in a Houston bayou, I'm hoping not to come across a dead body. So yeah, I'm not. I'm not eating anything out of there. DK tournament, Stevie, if you're stacking Reds and D-backs, would you still play Sanchez over Moreno and just take home out of the Arizona stack?
no. I mean, if you're stacking that game, I would play the catcher. Like Sanchez is the chalky catcher today. Like, don't take out potentially lower owned stack piece of your stack and then put in a chalky one-off. You usually don't play chalky one-offs unless you're playing like lower owned stacks, and those two stacks are second and third as far as ownership behind San Diego on the slate.
Okay. Hey, we didn't do any home run picks. Jason says home run picks. He said it nicely, but he could have yelled at us for not doing it. Stevie, you got a few home run picks for me?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to take the obvious and say Fernando Tatis, and then give me Mark Canha, who I already mentioned, and Tommy Pham.
Cheese, a few names.
Vinny P. And chalky Gary Sanchez.
Okay. I love the Vinny P call. I don't know why. I just got a feeling Vinny P is the answer.
We do have Discord questions, Kevin.
I did. I was just about to get to those, but now this one popped up. Mari Donese, San Diego or Kansas City bats? On DK, I already have Milwaukee. Jeez.
I mean, San Diego is the better play. I mean, I love Kansas City. It really depends how chalky or unchalky you want to go. There's not a great answer to that. I have more Kansas City, but I mean, San Diego is the likely top play.
Okay. Cheese, DK Cash, Vinny P or Christian Walker, and Sanchez or Garver. So those are two separate questions, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, as much as I love Vinny P, and I do, like in cash, just play Walker. And then Sanchez on the other side of that.
Okay. Stevie, DK Cash, I need two of these gentlemen, Profar Fam, Benson, Vierling. Thank you.
Who is the third name? Benson and Pham.
Okay, great. Stevie, can you run through actual ownership on single entry for Crochet, Mize, Gasser, Marsh, and 4 highest owned bats? Jesus Christ. That's a whole show. You're asking us a whole show. I think he wants to know your ownership of those 4.
Who are the pitchers again? Crochet,
Mize, Gasser, Marsh.
I mean, Crochet, Mize, Gasser, Marsh. That's how my ownership is on those guys. There you go. I mean,
that's how the field is too. Like Crochet is chalky, Marsh is not, and the other two are in the middle.
Yeah. Dan Jan says, Cheese, I just got here. Who are the pitchers in DK single entry? You do like the double spend up or no?
Yeah, it depends. Like if you have a chalky offense, I don't know that you want to go King Crochet because that's the chalk. I would go Crochet and either Fott or Mize. But if your offense is not chalky, then feel free to just play King and Crochet.
Okay. Cloud says, I'm stacking Milwaukee, Miami, and single entry. What am I doing with my life is the question.
Not going
You're
fishing.
playing Wednesday afternoon baseball.
Oh, man. I thought it was going to be a real question. I wasn't prepared for what am I doing with my life. Cheese, can you rank your stacks today? And are they mostly 3 and 4 man stacks?
They are mostly 3 and 4. I have a couple 5 mans, but it's Royals, Padres, Diamondbacks, Brewers, Reds, Tigers, White Sox.
Okay. Dante has what is my favorite question so far of the day. He says, I'm having a turkey sandwich for lunch. What type of cheese should I choose? Cheddar, Colby Jack, or the standard provolone? Cheese, you do not put cheese on sandwiches, so you're out on this.
Correct. Yeah, it's weird. If you are just meeting me for the first time and being introduced by name, you wouldn't understand the answer, but no cheese on a sandwich.
That's correct.
So that's Stevie.
So I go to Stevie here, who I will bring back the options: cheddar, Colby Jack, or the standard provolone.
I mean, what kind of cheese? What kind of sandwich?
It's a turkey sandwich.
Oh, turkey and cheddar is always good for me. But like turkey and Swiss, you got to get that Swiss cheese.
Not really a Swiss. I vote cheddar. I just think cheddar is the superior cheese. I think a sharp cheddar is better than all other cheeses. But
yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, and like,
yeah.
Don't even get me started on like craft cheese. Like don't do that.
Some of them are very bad. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you realize it doesn't even say like their cheese on the packaging? Like, yeah, just saying.
Right.
Milton the dog absolutely loves craft cheese, and he also eats poop. So I don't know what that tells me.
I mean, you're basically probably eating the same thing.
Yeah. Dean votes for provolone. Provolone good in a cheesesteak, no doubt about that.
Yeah, it's good cheese, but like it's definitely made for a cheesesteak. Like
Yeah.
a good cheddar cheese with turkey is really good, and like Swiss, like I said. So
yeah,
I had some barbacoa tacos before this, and they were fantastic.
Yeah,
I'm in a good mood.
I'm down with that. Padres lineup just dropped. Rather, we got Profar, Tatis, Cronenworth, Machado, Bogarts, Solano, Camposano, Kim, and Azokar.
So the only we had Arias listed, and it ends up being Cronenworth. So if you have that, you'll need a little switcheroo.
Okay, Stevie,
you've taken playing Arias anyway.
They took Arias out because he doesn't swing hard enough. Like we're done with this guy who's probably going to hit 400 because he doesn't swing very hard.
They saw that study. They're like, nah, sorry, bud. If taking batters against a pitcher, Stevie, would you take a batter against King or Crochet? So maybe which one is more likely to have strikeout upside, but also can give up a couple bombs?
I think I would prefer King, because like when King, he doesn't have like elite command, so when he's off, he's really off typically. So yeah, I would prefer him. Like a Ryan McMahon against King, I think is fine.
Okay, great. Yeah, Kraft American cheese is not cheese. It's coming in from Chinatown, so you nailed that one. Anybody considering a national stack in DK single entry, Stevie?
No, I'm not. I mean, like I have a couple one-offs of like Senzel and like Riley Adams, but like there's just no upside to the stack. I mean, Jacob Young, if he gets on, he'll run. Senzel has a little bit of pop, and then Riley Adams is just cheap catcher with some home run upside. So I just don't see, like, if you're talking full 5-man stack, I don't see it. 2 or 3-man stack, I guess. But yeah, I mean, Garrett Crochet really hasn't gotten blown up typically and has elite strikeout stuff. So you're kind of hoping that he just gets his pitch count up. But yeah, I'm not stacking against him.
Okay. Cheese, DK Cash, Sanchez, or Garver at catcher?
Sanchez.
DK single entry GPP. Cheese, I was going to play Elias Diaz as leverage bat versus King, but it doesn't look like he's going to make the lineup. So besides Dumper, your favorite catcher, 4,500 or less.
And I can tell you what happened is Elias Diaz heard the word leverage. He's like, I'm not even going to play today.
Yeah, right. I don't want to give him that.
Did you say besides the Dumper?
Besides the big Dumper, your favorite catcher.
Yeah, because that's I mean, Gary Sanchez again, but he is the chalk. So if you're concerned about ownership, then I would try Gabriel Moreno instead of Sanchez.
Okay. ASAP Charger says on the Yahoo all-day slate here, which two? Cheese, I'm going to give this one to you here. Because I feel like you play season-long fantasy, and thus you may be looking at an all-day slate. Which two would you play? Crochet, King, Ranger Suarez versus the Mets, or Framber Valdez versus Oakland?
Oh, man. So I will say I did not look into Suarez today because he's not on either main slate. But, man, he's been awesome. I would lean Suarez King. And I say that not knowing at all what the ownership might be on Yahoo on pitching. But I'm going to guess it's not as extreme on King. And my whole reason for not playing him is ownership. So I'll say King Suarez.
Yeah. Good last-second analysis there. Let's see. Oh, the Padres, the chalk stack. I think so. Yeah.
Not like massive ownership outside of Tatis and Machado, but still the highest owned.
Yeah. Very good. Hey, guess what, guys? We did it. We answered all the questions. We might be a few minutes before lock, but that's allowed. I gotta rip some lips. I'm gonna get tight on a fishy or two. I think we're gonna bounce on out of here. So for Stevie, for Cheese, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes. We coming back later tonight, Cheese?
Yeah, and I believe Squirrel's on with us, if I read that correctly.
Very good. Well, then, for Stevie, for Cheese, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard about the season. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you later tonight. You have been crushed.